Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
Live from the Xfinity Studios at WVON. We're your original social media. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective with Linal Harris on 1690, The Talk of Chicago.
If you wanna be about it, come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dream. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live a dream. Let's slay your goals, let your greatness flow with inspirational perspective.
Good morning, Chicago. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host, Linal Harris, your very own life coach right here on WVON 1690 AM, The Talk of Chicago. Inspirational Perspective on your radio is all about murdering mediocrity and living the best life possible. So as I ask you every Sunday morning, are you living the best life possible? And this is the place to be to explore that possibility. Well, good Sunday morning, 7:19 on the Talk of Chicago. And this is the last January in 2021, yes, but the last Sunday and the last day in January for 2021. And tomorrow will be February 1st. And looks like this year is moving a little faster than last year, at a minimum. I remember January felt like it was a couple of months. At least that's how, we were talking. And for those of us here in Chicago, you guys be careful out there. There is a lot of snow on the ground and it keeps coming down. And I'll tell you, I drove around quite a few cars and vehicles that were stuck. And so if you plan to be moving outside your home this morning, you might want to think about just throwing a shovel in the trunk to ensure that if you do get stuck, that you can get yourself out, because that's the current reality. And so be careful, drive slow. And if you don't have to go out, this is one of those mornings where I say stay in, just stay in. Either way, I'm excited to be with you all this morning. Got a great topic planned. And that topic, as I told you last week, is how to disrupt your future. How can you disrupt your own future in a great way? Now, how do we do that? And so by all means, I'm excited to have the conversation. As always, if there's something that you'd like to share, something you'd like to add, please give me a phone call, 773-591-1690. If you have questions, give me a phone call. And I look forward to the continued dialogue throughout the show. But just to kick things off, I want to start with a series of questions. And I want you to imagine with me a world, or just right now, there's a world where every goal that you have ever set, every intention that you've ever had, and this is your world, right? These are your goals. These are your intentions, nobody else. But every goal and every intention that you've ever set, you've achieved. Everything. And so just think about that for a minute. Every goal, every intention that you've ever set, you've achieved that thing. And I just want you to ask yourself a quick question or reflect for a moment. If that had happened, everything that you've decided to create for yourself, every intention you've had for yourself, every goal that at some point you were inspired to complete, if you achieved it, what would your life be like right now? What would your life be like right now? Now, again, today's topic is how to disrupt your future. And I just want you to think about that question, because every time we set a goal, every time we set a commitment or we make an intention, our ability to commit to that and stick with that is going to be critical to the disruption of our future. I mean, that's why we're doing it. There's a predictable way that things are going. And we're saying, I want to disrupt that. And in the disruption of that, I want to disrupt my future as well. Now, we don't necessarily think about it that way. We don't necessarily talk about it that way. But ultimately, what we're doing is disrupting our own future in a great way. Now, if you're being with the question I just asked, if every goal you ever set, every intention you've ever had, if you achieved that thing, what would your life be like right now? And I want you to ask yourself this question as well. Like, how would this present moment shift if you had achieved all those goals, created all those intentions? Like, even in this present moment, would you be in the same place? Would you be in the same circumstance or situation that you are in currently right now? Another question is, who would you be? Who would you be? Would you have more confidence maybe? Because I know for me, one of the things that's come along with achieving a goal is the belief that I can achieve more, and then there's just a bit more confidence than what you've had before. Maybe you would be operating with more wisdom because some of the things you said you would learn, some of the things that you said you would read, some of the things that you said you would do, you have done. And so as a result, the consequence of that for you is more wisdom. How would that disrupt your future? What kind of health would you be experiencing right now if every health and well-being goal you've ever set, if every diet that you've ever gone on, like you successfully achieved it, like how would that disrupt your future? Whatever pain you're experiencing, would you have that? Whatever aches you experience, would you have that? Would you be in a loving relationship if you had kept every intention, every commitment, if you had achieved every goal? Would you be an employee or would you be an entrepreneur? Like, where would you be? Not that one is better than the other. All of us have our own journey. But where would you be? This is a question for you. Would you be a leader? Would you be making an impact? Would you not only have disrupted your own future, but would you be disrupting the future of others around you because you kept your word to yourself? And because you kept your word to yourself, that commitment extended itself to other people. What about your financial situation? What would it look like? Would you find yourself in financial duress, or would you be financially secure, financially stable if you had kept every goal you had ever set around your personal budget every goal you had ever set around your spending, every goal you had ever set around how you think, how you learn about money? Would you be more spiritually connected? What would your relationship with God be like? And how would that impact not just you, but others around you because of who you be and who you are and how you show up, the things that you say, the source that the things that you say come from? How would that disrupt your future? How would it disrupt the future of those around you? Would you know and be living aligned with your life's purpose? And how would that disrupt your future? Are you living on purpose right now? Are you living aligned with your purpose right now? Have you ever created the intention or the goal to know? Where would you be? And what would be the consequence of that on you, first and foremost, but on others? Would your life be better? Would you be better? Now, here's the thing. That's a lot of questions. And more than anything, I just want us to think about how we live life and the decisions that we make day to day, and why keeping the commitments that we make to ourselves is so important, and how keeping those type of commitments, setting those type of goals, not only disrupt our futures, but it could potentially disrupt the futures of those around us in a phenomenal way. I'm guessing that all of us, if we were able, including me, to keep every goal we ever set, 100%, every intention we've ever set, we complete. If we were able to do that, we'd be living a more fulfilled and gratifying life. If, in fact, we achieved every goal we ever set. But here's the thing. Unfortunately, we're human beings. And because we're human beings, we don't do anything 100% perfect. Now, I firmly believe we can raise those percentages as high as possible. I firmly believe that. Because I'll be the first to say I haven't met every goal that I've set in my lifetime. And I haven't met every intention that I've set for myself in my lifetime. I haven't kept every commitment 100% that I've set, because none of us can. But we can strive for excellence. Maybe not perfection, but we can strive for excellence. And that's part of what I want to talk about this morning. Because I believe that we live in a time where instant gratification has become really the number one priority. And because instant gratification is the number one priority, this whole idea of excellence, of holding myself accountable over time to achieve something that requires time, I believe that it's become way less attractive than what it should be. And so when we say, well, how do we disrupt our futures? Well, the only way to disrupt our future is being fully present in this moment. And I'm going to get to that. But see, human beings, we don't do anything 100% perfect. So consequently, goals are left undone. Potential is left unfulfilled. And hear me out right now. And over 95% of us, through time, I'm not just talking about in this era, in this moment, over 95% of us throughout time live and die and never really know why we existed to begin with. And that's what I'm interested in disrupting more than anything. You know, we'll, as human beings, we'll always falter on the goal setting front. And that's what commitment is all about. Commitment is not about the occasional letdown or the occasional breakdown. Commitment is about getting back up. And so, how do we disrupt a world where only less than or over 95% of us, through all time, live and die and never know why we existed? Or another way to say that is, we never know our purpose on the planet. I mean, think about that. The average human being now lives between 70 and 80 years. And that depends on where you are, unfortunately. But on average, 70 to 80 years. Imagine 7 decades, 8 decades, and you still haven't figured out exactly why you're alive and why you exist. You know, you got to ask yourself, like, in terms of the ability to live a peaceful life, how does one live a peaceful life when they don't know really why they exist? And so this morning, what I want to do is I want to disrupt your future in many ways that my future has been disrupted. Now, I'm going to talk more about how my future has been disrupted and my life has been disrupted. And I'll tell you, there are many times I wake up and I think about my life and I think just, wow. And I'm just incredibly grateful because I know if I hadn't leaned on my purpose, if I hadn't made decisions aligned with my purpose, but not just that, if I hadn't taken leaps that I didn't know where I was going to land, my life would not be what it is today. I know it. But at some point, I made decisions. I made choices that completely disrupted my future. And so when I wake up in this reality, I'm grateful because I know where I should be. And if anything this morning, I really want you to get connected to where you could be by making different decisions. Now, our lives and how they play out equal the sum total of the decisions that we make. And just stick with me right now, because I'm building up to something, okay? But the sum total of the life that I'm living in this moment is a consequence of decisions that were made day in and day out. So when we begin thinking about life, because what I want to do is really kind of begin to break life down and how we live life and really talk about how do we disrupt the future. So if we think about it this way, right? The decisions that we make basically equal the sum total of the experience of life that we have. So what that means is that in order for us to explore the question of how do we disrupt the future, we really should be asking, how do I make my life decisions? How do I make my life decisions? So if I want to disrupt my future, if you're listening right now, you're like, okay, Linal, I'm down for this. Let's disrupt the future in a great way. Oh, okay, awesome. Then if you are enrolled in that, then the other thing that you automatically have to be enrolled in is the investigation of how you make decisions. And how, not only how you make decisions, but how you will make decisions moving forward. Let me give you some examples. How do I decide what to eat and what to drink? And these are small decisions that we make day in and day out. But over time, we begin to see how these decisions and the consequences of these decisions play out. And it plays out in one of two ways, right? We know. It plays out in either a healthy and vibrant body that has energy and vitality, or it plays out in a weak and maybe overweight body that lacks energy and lacks vitality. All based on small decisions that we've made day in, day out, over a period of time. By the way, that are decisions that I can begin to disrupt today if I make a commitment. How do I decide who to date and who to marry? Is that decision made simply based on what I see? Because again, remember, I talked about this some time ago on the show, how the eyes work. And the science of eyesight is nothing more than an interpretation. It's an interpretation that's sent to the brain, and the brain says, okay, this is what we believe you're looking at. And so do I date simply based on what I see? Do I marry simply based on what I see? Or are there deeper criteria that for me, I'm making decisions because I know as I make these decisions, they disrupt my future. They disrupt my future. I'll talk more about how I've made these decisions in a moment, but just stick with me. How do I decide my educational direction? How do I choose my career? Or does it choose me? See, what happens is when we're living life by default, often the vocation we have, the work that we do, we didn't necessarily choose that. Just happened to us, right? Because as human beings, one of the things that we're giving to is survival, to fitting in, to social circles. And so as a result, many times the important life decisions that we make revolve around those things. Survival, taking care of myself, taking care of others that I love, my social circles, as well as the default opportunities that might come my way. And what I mean by default is I didn't necessarily do anything different to create that. I just been on the same track, making the same decisions, and it just kind of came. Oh, my uncle told me they hiring at his job. Well, I could use a pay raise. I guess I'll go put in an application there. Guess what? They called me in for an interview. This is good news. Is it really? Like, I just want you to think about it. Like, is it really? Like, how did you make the decision? But it's good news. I'll get a pay raise. I'm going to go and do that work. 10 years later, here you are on a Sunday, dreading a Monday because you're not aligned with your overall purpose for existing on the planet. Here's another one. How do I decide what to buy? Where to invest if I invest? When to save and when to spend? Or is that decided for me? See, because if life comes down to decisions and how I disrupt my future comes down to the decisions I make every day, that means that every decision that I make has some level of consequence to who I will be and what I'm able to create in this lifetime. But what am I buying? Like, did I really, truly want that? Did me, truly, really desire that? Or is it a desire that's based on my social standing, my social circle? Is it a desire that was planted in me subconsciously through commercials and radio ads and things that I've seen? Or is it something that I've purchased or I bought because I lack value? I like my own self-value, and I just want to show up like I belong. And so I buy things that make me feel like I belong. I invest in things that my social circle invests in with no real clear direction or reason for why I'm doing it. Again, remember, the sum total of the decisions that we make equals the life that we live. So all of these things matter. How do I make decisions about my spiritual beliefs? And have you ever considered that you might not have made decisions about your spiritual beliefs? Maybe this is just the default belief because that's how you've been indoctrinated. But do you know why you believe what you believe? And how deeply do you believe it? And how is that impacting your overall life? But more importantly, your future. How do I decide to live a life aligned with my purpose? Or will I decide to live a life aligned with my purpose? Decisions. Our lives and how they play out equal the sum total of the decisions that we make. Decisions. Right now, maybe somebody's listening. This whole thing is getting on your nerves. It's getting under your skin. Who does this guy think he is? He doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand my life. You are about to make a decision. Will you listen? Or will you turn it off? Which one will disrupt your future? Is turning it off predictable? Is that what you do when you hear things you don't like? Or is listening the better option? The option that just might disrupt something in your future in a great way. See, often I think we make so many decisions in a day. We choose so many things. We go so many directions that we begin to, in many ways, think that, well, each of these decisions, well, they don't really have a consequence. They don't really matter. We have this belief that tomorrow's there and tomorrow I can. But how many times have you said that? And we have these simple decisions. Will I read the book I intend to read today? Or will I watch television? And the question becomes, well, which one will disrupt your future? Which one will disrupt your future? Will I write the book I've been wanting to write? Or will I procrastinate and wait? Which one will disrupt your future? Which one will disrupt your future? What will you choose? In the end, our lives and how they play out equal the sum total of the decisions that we make. Will you choose, starting today, to make choices that disrupt your future? Now, somebody may be thinking, well, Linal, how do I disrupt my future? How do I disrupt my future? And we're going to cover that at the top of the hour when we come back. But I got a couple calls here. Karen, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning, King. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well.
And good morning to all the listening kings and queens. You are so on point. And you say, "Are you living your purpose?" I'm living my purpose today.
Beautiful.
But it took a lot of accidents for me to live on purpose. But what I'm seeing today is that it's not taking a lot of accidents for the younger people. But yes, I purposely live on purpose. I purposely choose the right way, no matter how good the wrong way looks. And I just send this message out to everybody. Begin to live on purpose.
Yeah.
Begin to live on purpose, because there will be a lot of accidents to push you toward living on purpose.
That's right.
And I had to go all the way down in the valley to get to the other mountains to live on purpose. So I really, really, truly appreciate how you break it down in such layman forms that many can hear. But I just say, live on purpose, and don't let a lot of accidents get you to that purpose. And you know how you're living on purpose? Because everything you need as you get up to do what you do will manifest. Everything. I don't care if it's in a person, money, a place, thing. Everything that you need will manifest. And that's how you know you're living on purpose. Hey, I love you. I love what you do every day. And I just want us, it's our time. We can't stop what time it is.
That's right.
It's literally our time, and we have to get it. And I also say this, we're going into Black History Month.
We are.
I'm asking everyone that hears my voice to post something great about a person that's living or a person that has passed on. And it doesn't have to be somebody famous in the media, but let's talk about great people that are doing things today, like yourself. Let's start putting us out on the forefront, because the media and the TV have put us out there in a negative way. Let's put us out there in a great way. Every day, post something wonderful about a person that's either living or that has passed on, that's doing something great. And today, for Black History Month, I salute you, Linal, for getting up every Sunday, coming on here, teaching us how to just be us.
Yeah.
Living on purpose. Love you. Have a great day.
Love you too. And this is my purpose. This is why I do it. That's why I make the decision every Sunday, consistently, because there's a framework for how I make decisions. We're going to talk about that when we come back after the break. But here's what I want to do. This upcoming Saturday, I shared it last week. I'm going to share it again. Saturday, February 6th, I'm hosting a workshop. Discover and Live Your Life's Purpose. And it's a transformational virtual workshop that will connect you to your personal greatness and reason for being. And in this workshop, one of the things that I do is I teach you how to make decisions aligned with your life's purpose. I'm going to talk later about why that's so important. If that's something you're interested in, you can go to linalharris.com to learn more, and you can register right now, 50% off the overall price. But again, hey, our lives, I said it once, our lives and how they play out equal the sum total of the decisions that we make. Now, let me tell you how this has played out for me. And when we get to the top of the hour, I'm going to basically break this down into a visual framework maybe you can see in your mind. But I can recall certain decisions that I made that completely changed my life. One of the very early ones, I remember years ago, my mom had been on me about, hey, you seem to be satisfied where you are. You need to take it to another level, son. And I was. She was absolutely correct. I was young. I was working at FedEx Kinko's. Back then it was just known as Kinko's. Early 20s, very, very early 20s. And, I was getting a paycheck, and I was satisfied living in my parents' basement. She's like, you got to do more. You got to push yourself. And I recall I went out to a job fair, more so because I wanted to have something to tell her, right? And I put my resume into a couple of places, and Allstate Insurance ended up calling me back. Well, I looked at the role they wanted to put me in, and it seemed comparable to the role I was playing. And I remember the night before the interview, I was out hanging out with friends, doing a little partying. And that morning, I woke up and I had maybe an hour before the interview started. And I thought to myself, I don't feel like rushing. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm just going, forget the interview. I mean, what's the difference? I have a job. I don't need a job. And something my mother used to say to me came to my mind. And she would say, the early bird gets the worm, and the late bird never knew the worm was there. And I was sitting there, and this is playing in my mind. And I'm like, I couldn't rest. And so I made a decision to get dressed and go to the interview. Now, mind you, I was already running late because I was laying around. I didn't plan on going. So I got dressed really quickly, threw on a suit, rushed to the interview. And let me tell you, I had gotten dressed so fast that when I showed up to the receptionist, she had this kind of grin on her face and she said, excuse me, sir, you might want to zip up your pants, because my shirt was sticking out the zipper of my pants. I got dressed so fast. So I arranged myself, and eventually the gentleman came out to call me in the back and talk a little bit about the role and interview me. And during the interview, he shared what the compensation was, and it was basically the same thing. And I remember thinking, oh man, I could have just stayed in bed. And so I drove home, and I was disappointed with my decision because I'm like, I could have stayed and got rest. Well, a couple of weeks later, they called, offered me the position, and I, politely turned it down and said, well, that's what I'm getting paid now. And back then, I wasn't, by the way, making decisions aligned with my purpose. My purpose was fairly new to me, and how to make decisions aligned with that, I had never been taught. And so I figured that was a big waste of time. Well, another 2 weeks passed, and I get a phone call from Allstate, and they say, hey, the first role you turned down, but we found another role that pays more, and we think that based on your resume aligned with you. And this role was to become a scheduling staffing specialist for the call center out in Woodridge, Illinois, that was going up. And they said that we will teach you what you need to know, and you'll need to learn some things on your own, but are you interested? And it was a pay raise, and so I was. What I didn't know back then is that the decision to follow my mother's advice and get up, follow that wisdom and get up and go to that interview, what I didn't know is how it would disrupt my future. Because getting that role then put me in a position where I was in a call center industry. I was in an industry that was quickly rising. And I was learning a skill set that was going to be needed, not just back then, but even now, over the next few decades. I did not know that. And that one decision to get up and seek out an opportunity, even though I thought the opportunity might not pan out, completely disrupted my future. It opened up the door for me to travel the world, to live in different places of the world, to see things that I otherwise maybe would have never saw, to live in places that I never would have lived, to experience things I probably wouldn't have experienced, and to see things all over the world that many have not seen. All comes back to one decision. A young 20-year-old laying in the bed after a night of partying, asking himself, should I get up and see what's possible, or will I lay here and rest? And here's the thing. We are faced with these type of decisions almost every day. And if we are not purposeful, many of us, the things that we want so badly are on the other side of a decision that might seem difficult, that might have resistance. And if there's anything you get from what you just heard, I hope what you get is that we all need to be pushing past that resistance and making the tough decision. Because typically the easy decision is not the decision that would disrupt our future. All right, I see the phone calls. I'll answer those phone calls when we come back. But how to disrupt your future? That is today's topic. And man, who will you be? What will you do? I mean, I'm thinking of all the different little small decisions that I made that were aligned with my purpose. Later, after that decision, that changed my life. But that there put me on a track that I had no idea would shift who I would become and shift who I would be and expose me to people, expose me to leaders that would pour into my life, expose me to things that would allow me to live a completely different life. One little decision. Will I get up and go to this interview or will I rest? One simple decision. What decision are you leaving on the table this morning? And how might that decision disrupt your future? When we come back, we'll talk more about that. I'm going to break down this whole framework on how to disrupt your future. And I'm going to ask you some more questions. Like, what do you believe? And how is that belief impacting your decisions? But more importantly, what is your purpose? And are you making decisions aligned with the permanence of purpose to reduce the regret that you live with in life? All right, don't change that dial. Every decision matters. You've been listening to Inspirational Perspective. My name is Linal Harris, your host and life coach right here on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. We'll be right back. All right. So that's the first hour. Any questions, you all? Any questions? Here I'm going to go through and all right. Good morning, you guys. Happy to have you on. Thank you for being here. What questions do you have? Any thoughts? I'm seeing some good. Oh, here's a question. Does disrupting the status quo mean going into the complete opposite direction of what you learned or did by default, or is it a more balanced outcome? Bell, here's what I would say. Disrupting the status quo is making decisions fully aligned with your purpose. And nobody else can really tell you what that is. What's important is that you distinguish your purpose, like your life's purpose, like who are you? Why are you here? And then what I suggest is making decisions aligned with that. And by the way, in my experience, those decisions absolutely scared me. I would feel like I was up against a wall sometime. But those are the decisions that led to me living a life that I feel that is gratifying and fulfilling. And that's one of the reasons I look back, like when I reflect on my life, I'm like, wow, how did I get out of corporate America? I set the intention, I made the commitment, it happened. But I remember feeling so locked in, like the golden handcuffs, right, as a corporate executive. But I got out. I made the decision to leave, even though it wasn't popular. And then I look at how that decision disrupted my future. Wow. Right? And it was all purpose-based. Like I knew it was time to go. I couldn't, stay where I was. Just, I'm going to be stagnant. I'm going to collect a paycheck and I can't impact people's lives. I knew that would be a cancer for me. Where would I be if I had stayed there? Would I know, okay, I might have more money. I might have a bigger house. I might have a better title. But would I be fulfilled? Would I have joy and happiness? And that's what matters. And so, in terms of disrupting the status quo, it's really to answer this question, The outcome we don't know. But is it aligned with your purpose, and does it fulfill your life's purpose? That's the big question. And hopefully that answer supports you. Ha, you're right. I did consciously make the decision to drive through all that snow. But see, that's purpose-based. That's commitment-based. It's like, it's not an option. Let's get up early, shovel out the drive and get here. Thank God for a four-wheel drive vehicle. Yeah, a lot of us don't question what we're learning at church. And a lot of times we're criminalized for asking questions. And I disagree with that. I believe that, and this is, if you're a minister out there, you can get mad at me all day. But I believe that the role of a leader is to do all that they can to learn what they need to learn to answer the questions of the people that they lead. And if you don't have a good answer, then part of your role is to do everything you can to get good answers. And I think one of the big problems right now in the church is that there are concepts and guidelines that are being taught that aren't being explained. Like, the why isn't being explained. And I think it's because the leaders don't know. And people are asking, well, why does that matter? And the leaders don't know. And as leaders, you gotta, then that's what you gotta be focused on so you can lead the people. And often it's just like, no, be quiet. I'm stop. I'm really upset somebody. But I don't have a problem at all with true ministers, true leaders, people who really care about the people. I do have a problem with leaders who don't care and who aren't committed to doing everything they can to lead the people that God has entrusted them with. That's my answer there. Any other questions? Yeah, that's right, Toussaint. The journey over the destination, brother. I think sometimes we forget that. Tony, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Who else is on here? Karen, good morning. Clarence, always good to have you, brother. Peace. Elaine. Mike Burwell, how you doing, brother? How do we layer risk taking into decisions? Risk towards disruption for a better future. And when the risk doesn't work out, learn and move forward. Yeah, so here's one of the things that I say. Everything is risky. We're kind of taught to believe that certain things are riskier than others, and certain things are. Driving today in the snow is riskier than driving in the sun. I mean, that's legitimately riskier. But there's still risk to driving, and sometimes we forget that, right? Why am I saying that? Well, every decision we make has some risk of going well or going, a perfect example. My wife and I, we went to a restaurant Friday night. You guys know we have specialized diets, and so we get the food. My wife's like, "You think they cook this in butter?" I'm like, "Well, we came to a restaurant, and so now, if we're going to eat, we have to risk." It's a risk going to. We know there's a risk going to a restaurant that can disrupt our diet. It's a risk. Right? And so this is why I say making decisions align with your purpose. Like, decision making is a very personal thing. And so it's important that you know your personal purpose, your life's purpose. So then you make decisions aligned with that life's purpose. That's how you avoid regret. I firmly believe that's how we avoid regret. Because when I make those decisions aligned with my purpose is permanent. I'm going to talk about that in the second hour. And so if I'm making my decision align with something that's permanent versus something that is temporal, that's how I know long term, if that decision involves risk, I'm not going to regret it. So let me use my leaving corporate America. When I left corporate America, I knew I was done, right? And the reason I knew I was done is because I firmly believed my purpose was leading me somewhere else. Was that risky? Incredibly. What I didn't want to risk was staying in corporate America, getting another corporate America job, doing things like that I knew did not feel aligned or weren't aligned, and risking not living the life that I believed I could live and doing the work that I knew I was supposed to do. I knew that there would be a piece of me. It would eat at me like a cancer. And that was more important to me. And I'm going to talk about why in a moment. That's a great question, Mike. Thanks for asking.
Welcome, Chicago.
All right, back.
If you wanna be about it, come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspirational perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live your dream. Now. Inspirational perspective. Let's slay your goals, let your greatness flow. With inspirational perspective.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Inspirational Perspective. I'm your host and life coach, Linal Harris, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. Today's topic, how do I disrupt my future in a great way? How do I disrupt my future in a great way? What we came to in the first hour is that the decisions that we make disrupt our future, and our lives and how our lives play out equal the sum total of the decisions that we make. I'll dive deeper into that in a moment, but first let's go to the phone lines. I believe Keela was first. Keela, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Linal. It's been a long time. How are you, darling?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm excellent. And how is Pam and Legend?
They are great. Thanks so much for asking.
And Mama Harris?
And she's well as well. Keep her in your prayers, but she's doing well.
Good. I will keep all of you always in my prayers.
Yeah.
I had an interesting conversation. I need to clean something up with Brother Jay, who answered the phone and gave me his name. And we had an interesting conversation, which I had not intended. So I guess you could say my purpose for calling in today got disrupted.
Okay. All right.
Mr. J, as I told you, and I'm not going to repeat that, I grew up on the Soul Train game, the scramble board, so move that A and E around and you will see, if you know that the J is really a Y. That's all I want to say to him. But now to you.
All right.
Prompted me to call in, Linal, at 7:44, 7:45, you said something, and it pierced me deeply. And I said to myself, let me call him and ask him this.
Okay.
Linal,
yes, ma'am.
am I living my purpose?
Only you know. Only you know.
Oh, hello? Only you know. So what pierced me was you said you are not living your purpose. But only you would know that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suggest this to you, sir. What if I told you, Linal, you are not living your purpose? You believe you are, but you are really not.
Now, did I say that?
Think you are because you've been trained, and you have now trained yourself, and you are training others to make a living, to provide for your beautiful wife Pam and your son Legend, who is learning everything you do. He is studying you like 40 going north.
Man, that's true. That's true.
I love what Queen Karen Hicks said, and I want you to take heart to what she says as I lift her up, just like she lifts you up.
Yep.
I want to lift up Karen Hicks for the month of February, who's doing some phenomenal stuff out there that she doesn't even tell everybody about. So, Queen Karen, thank you, sweetheart. I really, really, really love you more than you know. But, Linal, what if I told you you are not living your purpose? You think you are because you're a coach and you're making a living and you're providing and you're doing everything right. But you really only laying the foundation for legend and legend children. What if I told you your purpose is not live until you die?
Well,
what if I told you you will not live your purpose until your body separates from your spirit? That neighbor that you are loving as yourself is your flesh. So I just wanted to drop a few jewels on you because we need to speak life and not death. The word "not" is a dead word.
I got you. But here's the thing.
I love you much.
Yep. You can stay or you can go. It looks like she decided to go. All right, let me say something here. Because this has happened. This happens often when you speak on a large forum. There are a lot of people out there, okay? And I'm speaking to an end. When I say something conclusive, it's because somebody needs to hear it. If you are living your purpose, I'm not speaking to you. And only we know where we are in any moment. And this is what I say. When something triggers me deeply, then I sit back and I listen. Now, often I want to defend myself, but I sit back and I listen because there's something there. There's something there for me to take on. Now, in this case, when I say you are not, I'm talking to the person that knows they're not. And if you believe that you are, then you know that you are. So if I offended you, Keelan, that's why I asked you to stay on. I apologize. But if you are not living your purpose, then I don't. Okay? Because I want to make you uncomfortable. I want to pierce your spirit. I do. Because I believe that is part of my purpose. And I believe purpose is personal. And we know it based on a lot of things, our talents, our passions. And what disturbs me most is that many of us don't know ourselves well enough to know when we're in alignment with our purpose. So that's what I'll share. I'm very clear that, I'm a human being. Everything I say is not going to be perfectly. It's just not. And when I don't say it perfectly, I apologize for the impact of that. I do. Okay? My heart and my intention is to teach and to help. And that's where it is. Now, I feel like you've pointed in some great places. I do believe part of my purpose is not just to me, but to my child, Legend, and to our children if we're blessed with more, and to that legacy. But not just to them, but to other people. And so, thank you. I always appreciate the comments. And, hey, pray for me that I do better. If I say something that you feel I could have said differently, pray for me. Okay? But I'm going to keep doing what I do. Art, good morning, brother. How are you?
Good morning, young man. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Hey, by the way, thank you for making that last week. The young lady who needed the furnace, she never reached out to me, so I didn't have a reason to call because I had nowhere to send you, brother.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Yeah.
Let me defend you and anybody else.
You don't have to defend me, brother.
No. This has nothing to do with what you want. This is me, because I see people do this stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. Everything is a matter of perception.
That's right.
Period, point blank. everything. Money is a matter of perception. What you see as value, I can look at it and say there's no value to it. I can say the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Somebody say the sun sits still and it just stands there and the earth rotates. All this is just a matter of perception, illusion, on what you or any individual decide they want to put their mind to.
That's
you
right.
hear a lot of people like to get into the spiritual world. If somehow you've been to the spiritual world and you came back and you got some knowledge of it. So God or the Creator put us all here to have a physical reality. So when people get into all this afterlife stuff, then go live in the afterlife, then deal with the afterlife. To me, it's kind of foolish when we get into all this splitting hairs on different things, because all of it, everything is a matter of perception. I'm giving one quick point. Like, you go to a country, the Mercedes-Benz, I forgot it's Germany or whatever.
Right.
It's an everyday car.
That's true.
It's not seen as a luxury car.
That's
it's just a regular car.
They're everywhere.
Cabs,
That's right.
It's cabs of Mercedes.
Yep, that's
but
right.
you come to America, right?
It's a
and the
luxury car.
Mercedes is a sign of wealth and privilege. So to me, when people call in and people get into splitting hairs on everything, like a person call in, and just proving your point real quick, a person call in and talk about pull all your money out of your bank and the banks will fall. Well, that's only if you got that much value in the money. Everybody don't want a car. Everybody don't want a bike. Some people, a simple life is the greatest life, and they're in the greatest point in their life, how they feel. But for you, it may not be. So to me, everything is a matter of perception and what an individual wants for his or her life. And I'm just going to leave with that. And the last point is, again, everybody talk about the spiritual world, and I believe in God. But at the end of the day, God gave you a physical body so you could have a physical experience. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done that. So we focus too much on what we think afterwards, then focus on what we are living in today. And you're 100% correct. All our realities change and is different depending on who, what, when, where, and why. And all of it is a matter of perception or illusion. I'll leave you with that, and may God continue to bless, brother. And you're doing a great job inspiring those who need to be inspired in different areas. Even though I may be at one point in my life, there are things that you say that helps me open my eyes to different other creative points in my life. So we need to really stop trying to attack people intellectually and think that we are really not really causing greater harm to our own community. And I leave that. May God bless.
All right. Thank you for the comments, Art. I appreciate that, brother. And I'll say this. I think I want to be sure that we're not separating the physical reality and the spiritual reality, because we live in both right now. And I've talked about this, right? It's not one, I'm living and then spirit. It's you're living, you have a spirit. And that's one of the things we talk about in the purpose course. You have a spirit, and your spirit, I firmly believe that one of the reasons why depression and anxiety and all these things are so high, because so many of us are completely separated from God, completely separated from our own spirits. The spirit is what provides life. It is here right now. And because it is here right now, it has a purpose. Our purpose is the spiritual journey in the physical vessel. I want to be clear about that, just in case what Keela said threw some people off, and thank you for your comments there, Art, to really bring this around. Okay, let's go to Mike on line 3. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yes, good morning. I love your program. I guess that's why I'm here pretty much every Sunday morning. And I love what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I recognize you as one of the kings out here. There's many other kings also, as well as queens. And I'm glad you're expressing that. And there's many others doing likewise. So I gather that way we will actually achieve our purpose. One thing I want to speak on this morning is about financial literacy. Often many people think of it as just sheer money, but in the process of it, we use every day and been using in our life in many different ways, but not have given attention to it. Because financial literacy is important because it equips us with the knowledge and skills we need to manage money effectively. And I believe all of us want to manage our money effectively.
Amen.
And without it, our financial decisions and the actions we take or don't take lack solid foundation for success. One example I want to give. When I was a little kid going to the candy store, and I wanted to get some bubble gum and also a candy bar. And so we could get bubble gum for 2 cents for one piece of bubble gum, but I wanted 3. I really wanted 4. But I had to make the decision and say how many I was going to get to be able to still be able to get my candy bar.
Right.
And so we do these type of decisions every day and not really thinking about it. But the decisions that we make conscientiously, mindfully, relating to managing our money and manage the decisions about our money help us to not just survive, but also help us to thrive because it's related to your purpose. What is your prize that you're trying to achieve, or the goal that you want to get to, you know? And so it's looking at that purpose and those financial decisions, whether we knew they were financial decisions or not, help to determine if we're going to get there. So being more conscious of that and purpose of that, I think it helped us move from the level of just surviving to thriving. Because I've heard a lot what you said related to your life and real estate decisions you made that were kind of long term, but it helped to put you in a position where you are now to have the time and the money to be what you needed to do.
Amen to that. Thanks for the comments, Mike. Appreciate you, brother. All right, Freddie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Linal. Great topic. Can you hear me, Linal?
I'm here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. Good morning to you. You know what? Living your purpose is a prime joy. When an individual is born in the world, I said, like my mother and father, it was their purpose to raise me to be a decent individual. And without that, what you made of, God put us on earth for something. And if you discover that you just like a person in the wilderness, like when Moses took those people and they didn't have a purpose, but they was free, but they didn't have a purpose what they want to do. So that's why rules and laws.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They did have a purpose. They were disconnected from their purpose due to disobedience.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let me move on from that. And I say this: my purpose is to be I like my family. Once I can show my family that the true life of your purpose is, and that's my goal is the people that I'm surrounded up close to, you know. Right. And my family see my purpose. They say, okay, Freddie's onto something. My friends, you know, observation association is very important. You know, I remember I used to go to this big church in Forest Park, and one of the pastors talked about living your purpose. I didn't agree with everything he did, but I took some jewels, what he said, and experience on that thing. It took me a long way. You know, if an individual came up to me when I was a team captain there, he asked me a question. One day, he just asked me a question. He said, Freddie, my wife is doing something to me. What do you think about it? I said, well, at this time, I'm not married, but you tell her this. I was divorced. I said, you tell her this. I said, you tell her that you love her, that you appreciate how she talked to you, and tell her that things will get better, but as the head of the household, I love you. You know, and exactly what I told him. You know, and he appreciate that. You know, we have to be, see, one thing, I never let nobody kill my spirit. If once your spirit is gone, you're nothing.
Amen to that.
I don't care how bad it is.
That's right.
A job, individual, you know, I never let them kill my spirit. Once you lose your spirit, you lose everything. Your body is subject over to anything. You're vulnerable. You know.
True.
So that's why that's one reason why I'm in your class, to stay connected. Purpose, goals. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
One thing I know my father is the purpose of working. I never been out of job in my life. Never been out of job. and that's a blessing. That's a gift. Some things I didn't like, but I never got out of a job. I always anything that I need, learning connected to properties, anything. When I decided to be a real estate investor. That's good. I went to school. I went to Triton for a little while. I said, well, I was working the job. I said, let me get into the real estate. Then I got to have a degree. So whatever we can link to, we can do it.
Amen.
So that's all I got to say.
I agree to that. Thanks, Freddie. And what I'm pointing to today is how do we make those decisions? Like, that's what I'm pointing to. Because decisions disrupt our future. Is it disrupting my future in a good way? Or is it disrupting my future in a bad way? Right? And that's just the power of it. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I got teaching to do. I'm gonna take a few more phone calls, and then I wanna share what I promised to share. Ronaldo, good morning.
You got television, you're looking at your future.
Hello?
Yeah. Who is this? Hey, Linal, am I?
Yeah, Miss Pat. Get on.
You got two on. This is Miss Pat from the Without the Furnace.
Yeah, you never reached
I'm
out.
Miss Pat, the first one about, but I was supposed to text you or something?
I asked you to email me.
Oh, email you. Okay.
I had a number of people that reached out that wanted to support you, but I had nowhere to send them.
Okay. I will email you today. Yeah, I just want to call and say that, I'm not going to let that furnace be in. I'm not going to let it dampen my spirit, okay? That's what I want to say. I'm not going to let it dampen my spirit. As long as I still got gas on, and I'm keeping warm in my oven and my eyes right now, but I don't want to keep doing that every day because it's not really safety. But
right. Well, do this. Leave your information with Justin, and he'll take it down. So that way I could reach out to you. Art, who called earlier, said that he would try to figure out a way to support you. I believe he has an HVAC background. And a number of people reached out to me and said, hey, if there's money, things you need that, they wanted to support you. I mean, it's cold. And when you call it and say your furnace wasn't working, people were concerned. So
yeah, I was out there shoving my snow. I said, let me get back to it so I can hear your program. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So leave your information with Justin, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great day.
All right. You too. All right. Good phone calls. Hey, what I'm sharing, I know it's going to trigger people. I don't expect everybody to just agree. But I am sharing what I believe is the truth. And I believe it to the depths of my soul, to the depths of my heart. But what I will tell you is I'm not going to try to verbally defend it. I'm not. Either you agree or you disagree. Either you are going to understand my intent or you're not. And you have all the power. And that power is in the off button. You can turn me off. But if you agree, I suggest you keep listening. Because I do believe that I've been given a gift to discern and understand and decipher with wisdom certain things. And I believe I've been given that gift to live out a purpose. And that's why I show up every Sunday. So let's keep going, man. You guys keep calling. Once I finish up with some of the teaching, if there's time, I will take those calls. But I really want to get to this because this is important. How to disrupt your future. If somebody tuned out or they popped off Facebook, you go ahead and share it again and let them know, hey, he's teaching again. But how do I disrupt my future? Here's my belief. The only way to powerfully create your future, we must first understand the power of the present moment. We have to understand the power of this present moment. If you want to powerfully create your future, you have to understand that where you are right now matters. And the present moment is where opportunity lives. So I want you to think of it almost like this linear line. If you had a piece of paper and you drew a line across it, on the left-hand side, you would write down your past. In the middle, you make a space and you would put the present moment. And on the right-hand side, you would put the new future. Underneath the present moment, you would write disrupt the continuum. Disrupt the continuum, because in the present moment is where opportunity lives. That is the only place we have opportunity right now. There is nothing else you can do. You can't do anything about yesterday, and you can't do much tangibly about tomorrow other than what's in this present moment. In this present moment, you can impact tomorrow. In this present moment, you can impact your future. In this present moment, you can impact what happens 10 years from now. Right now, based on the decisions that you make. And so right now in this moment, you can make a decision that will completely transform your future life. And this is where all the resistance comes in. This is why people have such a hard time. The present moment is where opportunity lives, because the present moment is the only place we as human beings can exhibit some level of influence and power. What is done now in this moment could reverberate into the unknown corridors of the future and create a ripple effect that transforms the entire world in this moment. But what happens is, I believe that we're not using our moments powerfully, because we have what seems to be a lot of moments. We constantly push off what's next. We push off what we could do now for later. And as a result, we're not making the impact that we could make. If the decision is made to take unwavering action in the present moment, that can change everything. Everything. Many people before us, Black History Month starts tomorrow. Many people before us have provided a template for how this is done. I mean, just imagine if Benjamin Banneker was a procrastinator. All the wisdom, all the ingenuity that this man had, his abilities, if he just put it off. Oh, I'll draw some designs for that tomorrow. Will we know who he was? Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, Harriet Tubman, Carter G. Woodson, Muhammad Ali. Like, these are people who made decisions in the present moment that made impact. The reason we know them is because they took unwavering action in the moments they had. Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Huey Newton, Medgar Evers, Frederick Douglass. The list goes on. We know them. We celebrate them because they took action, unwavering action in their present moments. And because they took action back then, we celebrate them now. There's a ripple effect that took place. Just imagine what the world would be like for us if we knew none of those names. If we knew none of them. Because they did not take advantage of their present moment. What if they made decisions like some of us are making it? I'll just wait. I'll do it later. What if Du Bois succumbed to the pressure of racism and gave up the opportunity to get an education? Oh, this is going to be hard. They don't like black folk. I'm not going to Harvard. What if, just what if, other black folk ain't going to like me if I go to Harvard? They're going to say I'm uppity, I'm sedity. What if there would be no book titled The Souls of Black Folk? What if? What if Harriet Tubman let her common sense and fears guide her rather than her purpose? I really want you to get this right now. Like, she let her common sense and her fears. I'm a little woman. I made it. I did make it. God did bless me, but it's probably not tactful. It's probably not wise for a woman like me to go back down to the South and try to save people, that doesn't make good sense. And see, that's one of the problems. We're always trying to make that doesn't make sense. Folks, it didn't make sense for me to have a successful 16-year career in corporate America and leave. That doesn't make sense. What Harriet Tubman did doesn't make sense, but it aligned with her purpose. It aligned with her purpose. And so she made decisions in the present moment that I imagine she felt queasy at times. She felt great deals of fear at times. They said Harriet would stop and pray to get direction for where they should go next. The dogs were behind them. They could hear the clopping of hooves. And when you read about it, they say she would just stop and pray. I imagine her heart was beating, and she would just say, Lord, guide us. Let's go this way. In the present moment, making an impact. See, many of us, man, it comes down, we're trying to make sense of things that we know our spirit is telling us, God is telling us, our purpose is clear, and you're still trying to make sense of it. It won't always make sense. What if Carter G. Woodson was so concerned about whether people would understand his work, he never wrote the book, The Miseducation of the Negro? Because he was thinking about what other people would say. What if Muhammad Ali took the deal to go to war? Because they weren't going to put him on the front lines. So what if he said, well, they're not going to kill me. I guess I can go over there and tell a few rhymes, encourage the soldiers. I could do a brief tour in Vietnam, wear the uniform, so I can keep my championship title. What if he had done that? Like, who here could criticize him? Who here could say he did it the wrong way? But he followed personal convictions based on what he believed in that moment was his purpose. And guess what? It didn't make sense, and he did it in the face of fear. I earnestly believe that one of the reasons many of us who know our purpose aren't fully aligned with the purpose is because we've been trying to make sense of it. We've been trying to use our human, rational capabilities to figure out something spiritual. And until you get aligned spiritually and make the leap and have faith, you're going to keep spinning your wheels. How do you disrupt your future? How do you disrupt your future? I mean, think about these people. What if? What about you? Where are you justifying your inaction? How are you succumbing to comfort in this present moment in a way that will make your future shift in the wrong direction? Last week, we talked about how to avoid regret. Well, one of the ways you avoid regret is you do what's in your spirit. You do what's aligned with your purpose. You make the leap. You take the jump. Because otherwise, years from now, you'll be wondering, what if? What if? I don't want anybody to say what if with my name attached to it. I don't want to live and become, if God allows me, an old man and be consumed with thoughts of what if? Now here it is, my body's too weak and I'm too old and all I can do is just wonder, but what if? What if I had left corporate America? What if I had gotten married and had a family? What if? And see, here's the other thing. If you really want to disrupt your future in a great way, if you really want to step into your greatness, align with your purpose, then Another question you need to start asking yourself is, what's predictable for me? See, because again, this is personal. What's predictable for you? Is quitting predictable? Are you a quitter? Like, are you willing to admit that to yourself? Like, you know what? I quit. Hey, there's things, I'm not perfect. And even last night, I was putting these notes down. I was sitting there thinking like, man, there's another level to go to. Because there's a pattern. I saw the pattern. There's a pattern that I have. And I'm like, okay, that pattern is getting in the way of me fully living out my purpose. It's time to disrupt the pattern so I can disrupt my future. What about you? What's your pattern? Is preserving your current comfort predictable? Is that kind of how you do things? Are you a complainer? Or do you distract yourself with complaining? Well, you know, if this was going on, then, you know, it'd all be better. My husband that, my wife that, you know. Oh, if they could just do this. You distract yourself from the present moment by complaining about all the things that was, that had been, versus being powerful and taking action in the moment. Is complaining predictable for you? Are you a blamer? Is blaming predictable? You blame other folks? Well, if he hadn't said it that way, I mean, everything was making sense until then. Like, you blame folks? You know, if they had just did this at the job. Are you a blamer? Is that predictable for you? Is your negativity predictable? Like, people pretty much know when you show up, it's going to be negative. Uh-oh. Yeah, here we go. Watch this, y'all. Negativity predictable? See, here's the thing. If you want to begin disrupting your future, you got to get more intimately in line with yourself. What's your predictable? What's your predictable? What's your predictable? And by the way, if you don't know you're predictable, all you got to do is ask people around you. They know you're predictable. Your spouse knows you're predictable. My wife knows mine. She'll tell me. I'll tell her. We know what's predictable about the other one. What's your predictable? And is that going to disrupt your future in a powerful way? What's your predictable way of being? Are you joyful, peaceful, and happy? Or are you anxious, depressed, and sad? What's your predictable way of being? And more so, are you ready to disrupt it? Are you ready to disrupt it? See, it's one thing to complain about being depressed, complain about feeling down, complain about being sad. It's another thing to disrupt it. And I'm not talking about people who are clinically depressed. I mean, you know, got serious issues. I'm not talking about you. You know who I'm talking to. You all get this. You're smart. You get it. You ready to make a new choice? Because again, choices disrupt our future. You tired yet? Tired of the same old, the same old dissatisfying job, the same old dissatisfying diet? Tired of eating things and later regretting that you ate it just a minute later, 2 minutes later, 30 minutes later? Oh, I know better. I don't know why I ate that. You tired of that? Slowly killing yourself? Slowly heading towards sickness and disease? You tired yet? You tired of the same dating cycle? Every 9 months, new person, never works. Never works. You tired of that yet? You tired of the same financial woes? Same financial opportunities, same thing all the time? Oh, look at that. I overdraft my account again. Same thing. It's like clockwork. Your family knows. Oh, I know what this phone call's about. What do you need? $100. Right, $100. You tired yet? You tired of being that predictable? You tired of the same inconsistencies? The same, always the same thing? Is it time to disrupt the continuum? Well, I want you to consider what I've shared this morning. The only way to powerfully create your future is you must first understand the power of the present moment. The present moment is where opportunity lives. And right now in this moment, you can make a decision that will completely transform your life. The present moment is where opportunity lives because the present moment is the only place we as humans can exhibit influence and power. Now somebody's stuck right now. And you want to know what makes making powerful decisions in the present moment difficult. Like, why is it so hard for me, Linal? Why is it so difficult? Like, I get what you're talking about, but man, it's difficult. And here's my answer to you. Many of us are avoiding our present power because we're living in the past. Some of us have no idea how powerful we are in this moment because we continue to relive past mistakes, past incidents, past trauma. We wake up thinking about the past. We go to sleep thinking about the past with no awareness or no attention to the present moment. We just aren't present to the gift of this moment. The gift that is the present moment offers us the opportunity to transform everything right now. And let me be clear. The past serves a purpose. And that purpose is for learning, not living. Let me say it one more time. The past serves a purpose. And that purpose is for learning, not living. See, the past provides a template for how to take powerful action in the present moment and avoid costly mistakes. Oh, I remember the last time I made a decision like that without research. It didn't go well. Okay, so I'm going to make a decision, but I'm going to make that decision after I sought counsel and I've done some research. The past is best used to distinguish wisdom for present action, not inaction. And see, what happens is we get so consumed in the past that we don't move. And so then the moments flow. The next moment, the next moment, the next moment, the next moment. And I'm stagnant. And the consequence of not giving up our past, not living in the present moment, is that we tend to recreate the very same things we dreaded so long ago over and over again. You wonder why you keep ending up in failed relationships? Because you get in a new relationship expecting what you experienced in the past. And so you're taking the same actions you did in the past because you're in the past. And then you're confounded when the same thing happens all over again. Why does this keep happening to me? It's time to live in the present moment. Align with your purpose. Are you choosing people to date aligned with your purpose? Are you eating and consuming food in ways that are aligned with your purpose? Are you doing work that's aligned with your purpose? But if the past is what consumes you, you're in trouble. Because what consumes your mind controls your life. And many of us right now are living lives is not controlled by the Creator, is not aligned with your purpose, is fully controlled by the past, because that's where your mind is. The heaviest consequence of not giving up our past is the inability to create a brand new future. So here we are. February's here. The future is at our doorstep. 75% of people will abandon their 2021 goals. They just set 30 days ago by tomorrow. 75% are going to let it go. So here they are. We opened up the show and said, if you were to achieve every goal you ever set, how would that disrupt your future in a great way? Here we are. And many people are making decisions right now if they're going to quit, if they're not. You'd be surprised the kind of excuses we give ourselves. Well, I was going to eat good food today, but it snowed, and I feel like I need some comfort food. Like, we make up all kinds of excuses to abandon and to forget the intentions we've created. And so are you going to choose from the future today? Here's the other thing. 92% of all goal setters won't achieve their goals by the end of the year. Will that be you? And here's why. Here's why. They'll make a choice. And this choice will be rational. It's going to be a rational choice. Matter of fact, they can explain it to their friends. Their friends will say, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. They'll co-sign for them. They'll feel good when they quit the goal. The choice will be justified. And here's the other thing. The choice will be predictable, because that's what you do. That's what you do. And today I'm just asking you, are you ready to disrupt that? Are you ready to push yourself in ways you haven't pushed yourself before? Are you ready to begin disrupting your predictable and disrupt your own future in a phenomenal way? So then I got to ask you, do you know who you are? Like, as you make these choices, as you think about your goals, like, are you fully present to who you are? Who you were created to be at your fullest potential. This is the reason we have the type of aspirations that cause us to create the goal or the resolution in the first place. But will you stay connected to that? Do you know how to stay connected to that? And if you don't, I want you to keep listening. Who are you? Many of us, we do everything we can to ignore the darkness and justify it. What do I call the darkness? Every time you create powerfully, you have an intention, you have a goal, and you let the darkness around your aspiration, around your vision creep in and block it out. You're pulling down who you could be. You're pulling down, you're destroying the future you could create if you were just to stay committed. If you really don't know you should watch yourself like you watch a stranger. And the silver lining here is, this also means you don't fully understand who you could be. Like, if you don't know who you are, that means that you don't know who you could be. And so, as a result, the ideal you have of yourself is not necessarily the reality of who you could be. There's a reason you're alive. And that reason is because you have a purpose. And the big question this morning, are you living your life aligned with that purpose? Here's why it's important. Purpose is permanent. Now, as we live, our purpose begins to reveal more of itself. I like to think about purpose like an onion. It has layers. What I'm doing today is aligned with my purpose in the way that it gets me to the deeper part of what it is I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm just on the outside layer. What matters is I'm aligned. And when I'm aligned, we get to go deeper and deeper and deeper because it's permanent. And living a life defined by purposeful meaning is the best life you can live. Why? Because everything else is temporary. Happiness is temporary. We know that. The same way sadness is temporary. And either we're living our life defined by purpose or living a life that's defined by tragedy. Let me give you an example. 2020 was one of the toughest years for most people. And the reason it was one of the toughest years for most people is because their lives are not defined by purpose and purposeful meaning. And when my life is defined by what's happening around me, if what's happening around me is tragedy, then I'm defined by that tragedy. If I'm living a life aligned with my purpose, God's purpose for my life, then my life is defined by that purpose. And so then I'm not living out the tragedy of the moment, the tragedy of everyone else in the world. Now, if this makes sense to you, if this seems meaningful to you, and you're ready to take another step, well, Linal, I don't know my purpose. This is why I teach the purpose course, Discover and Live Your Purpose. That's why we're going to be together on February 6th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if this is something you want to learn more about, I challenge you. What decision will you make? What decision will you make? Will you join? Or will you justify your way out of it? Will you rationalize your way out of it? How will it go? What's predictable? And will you do the opposite of what's predictable for you? The choice is yours. But again, remember, our life is defined by the choices we make. If this is what you want to do, if this is something you're interested in, you can go to my website, linalharris.com, to learn more. I'm always available to answer questions. Shoot me an email. But are you willing to take bold action, aligned with the comfort that purpose is permanent? And God's purpose for your life doesn't change. It might evolve, but it doesn't change. He might reveal more, but it's down the same path. Would you make a choice from that place? If so, right now, what action should you be taking? Right now, what choice should you be making? This is Inspirational Perspective. My name is Linal Harris, your host and life coach, right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. Be safe this morning and be blessed. Until next week, be safe and God bless you all. All right, guys, that's the show. Man, if it...
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation.
Share with others. But disrupt your future. I'll see you guys next week.